Tonight, it's Battle of the Bitters.
Life is too short to be drinking shitty beer.
Welcome to another edition of Bands, Bikes and Booze Reviews. Tonight I am going to do a comparison. It's the first time I've done it, and I was out and about the other day and I saw two beers on the same shelf that looked, well, didn't look, but had more or less the same spec as each other. They're both bitters, they're both around the 4% mark, and they are both brewed by well-known British brewers. In the blue corner we have Adnams Southwold Bitter. This is a 4.1% bitter, which is pretty sessionable from what they say in their description. And in the red corner I have got Goliath from the Wychwood brewery. Now, I like both these breweries. I know Wychwood have been taken over by Marston's, and I'm not even going to go down the road of the labels that they've changed. Thankfully, they've kept the label the same, and they've not got the simplified, dumbed down label that they put on their Hobgoblin and the other one as well, the Golden or the Pale Ale Dry Neck. I think it's got the money saving label is what I call it. They're, as I say, they're taken over by Marston's. There's rumours going around that they've changed recipes and stuff like that. I don't believe that. I'm not even going to speculate on that. I'll let you draw your own conclusions when you taste the beer. This, on the other hand, is an independent brewery as far as I know. They're based up on the East Coast in a place called Southwold. Now, this brewery do some cracking beers. They do Broadside, which I don't know whether I've reviewed or not. I think I have. And they do a couple of others as well, but they do quirky beers as well. They have the odd season, odd beers that come out at different times of the season, and they emulate different styles as well. They've got pilsners and stuff like that, so you know they're pretty good at what they do, and they've got a very eco-friendly brewery up there. Anyway, enough about the breweries. Let's get these open and see what's going on. As I say, they're similar. They're both bitters, they're both British style beers. And they are pretty similar in the ABV stakes, and they presumably should taste a little different. Now, I was reading that they both use similar hops as well, so it will be interesting to see what is what, because if they're using similar hops, then you know it's all to do with the brewing skills that each brewery's got. There's the cap for the Wychwood. That is a typical Wychwood cap. Thankfully, they haven't changed that. And on the Adnams one, we have got a blue cap, pretty simple. Just got Adnams written on it. There you go. And there it is. Into the collection. Right, let's get the Wychwood sniffed first. Okay, so I'm getting a bit of both. It smells quite balanced. There's some malt in there, some earthy hops, which are Fuggles hops. And I think they use Goldings as well. I think they're Kent Goldings, not sure. But it's very subdued. It's not strong, you know, masses of odour, masses of aroma coming out of there. It smells okay. Let's pour it into the glass and get a nose on it. I'm just going to pour out a little bit for now. And I'm going to leave them by each other's side so I don't get mixed up. Yeah. More hops now coming through. Typical British hops, earthy, little tiny bit of spice on it as well. Not like the American hops. There's no masses of citrus and, you know, fruit, grapefruit and stuff like that. These are typical British hops, as you would expect from a bitter. it is a British drink. On the nose, on the Southwold, there's even less. Very faint malt and very slight hops. Let's get it in the glass, see if I can get a bit more out of it. This seems to be a bit more livelier. Oh, it's much more malty now, yeah. Sweet malt, very nice indeed. That smells better than the Wychwood does. Let's get them in the glass. Let's see if I can get a bit of a head on that. Compare the nose. This is the Goliath. This is the Wychwood. This is the Goliath. This is the Adnams. Slightly darker. Let me pour a little bit in there so you can see the colour a little bit better. This looks to be more of a ruby type beer, which the Goliath claims to be. That's more of an amber. I don't know if you can see that, but that is darker than that one. That's a very dark amber. That is a deep ruby. So let's try the Goliath first. Okay, so you've got a fair bit of biscuit malt on there, little touch of toffee malt. You've got the earthy hops, and it's okay. It's a drinkable British bitter. Now let's try the Adnams stuff. Again, this is the darker one. Lots more sweet malt on that. The aroma is malt, but the hops do shine through on this and give it a bitter aftertaste to it. There's no sort of trace of a biscuity malt aftertaste on this, which I would be expecting. Not really getting that. I'm getting a bitter finish from them hops, and maybe just a touch of toffee on the end of it. Let me go back to the Goliath. There's not as much body in this as there is in the Adnams. They're of the same style. You would drink both and say, yes, I'm drinking a bitter. The differences on this are subtle. With the Goliath, you haven't got like a malty body, which you get with the Southwold stuff, but on this you get a nice finish. Yeah, there's a nice biscuity toffee sort of aftertaste, but there's still the bitterness and them hops are still there. And this, although it looks really, really nice, like a sort of deep ruby ale, you don't get them, even though you get it on the aroma, you don't get that huge malty aftertaste. But this, I think, is better balanced. There's malt and hops all the way through. There's big toffee malt on that, and the bitterness of them Goldings and Fuggles does come through on that as well, and you get that all the way through, which is good. It's a very, very balanced beer. This, the Wychwood stuff, not as full bodied. For me, it's it does taste like a typical Marston's offering. It reminds me of a macro brewed supermarket bitter, unfortunately. And saying that, it's not as bad as some of the ones I've tasted, but I must say that I'm erring towards the Adnams stuff with this, because it feels like it's used better ingredients, in my opinion. Better malts, it looks more appealing, the balance is really good. And it's smoother as well. It's much smoother. These are chilled as well. I probably shouldn't be drinking them chilled, because really these should be drunk at room temperature, but they're not that chilled, if you know what I mean. So I'm getting most of the flavour from them. Let me just give you a quick comparison in the colours. I got a bit of a head on the I don't know if you can see that or not, but how darker the Adnams stuff is compared to that. And I know you can't judge a beer on its colour, but there's more body to this. It's smoother. It tastes like it's, I don't know, it's used more select ingredients, definitely more select malts. And it's much smoother, much richer toffee malt in that than there is in this. There's more of a bitter, dry, not a dry, a hoppy bitterness that is just a little too dominant in that for me. This seems to have got the balance just right. So what will I give the two? This is drinkable, this stuff, and I like some of the stuff that the Wychwood Brewery do. They do the Hobgoblin, obviously, which is good. This stuff, this was a bargain. This was £1.25 in Home Bargains, actually, and this was slightly cheaper. The Southwold, the Adnams Southwold stuff, that was cheaper. This is better. I'd give this a 7 to 7.5. The Wychwood stuff I think just falls short. The alcohol content is higher, but that, for me, is better. That is a better beer, I think. And if I was going to be making a choice out of the two, I'd definitely go for the Adnams stuff. They're a good brewery, and that's so much smoother, much more drinkable. This is just not as smooth and not as drinkable. So yeah, the Adnams on this one has won it on points. 7.5 for that, 6 for the Goliath. And I'm drinking these beers so you don't have to. So that concludes the first ever bitter war. Should do this again. I should do it with lagers and different ales. Quite enjoyed it, actually. I'm not sure whether I should be trying one, then completely leaving it alone, and then going to the other one rather than taking sips out of the two. It influenced my taste buds, but I definitely think this is the better one for me.
Like and subscribe, or the puppy gets it. Isn't that right, Purse? Yeah, get off.